Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I went to the 154 Contemporary African Art Fair in Somerset House in London. I try to go every year. It's one of my favorite things on the calendar. The big irony is the one year when I didn't get to see the art was because we had our Janet's List pop up at the Somerset House shop and was so busy that we had no time to see the art. As you know, I am passionate about art and brands by Black women. This year was no exception. There's going to be a couple of videos in this series. This video in particular is about a room that I loved. It was a room that was curated by the Berman Contemporary Gallery from South Africa. They had 4 amazing Black women artists and I'm gonna tell you about them. So let's get straight into it. So the first artist that I'm really excited about is DuduBloom More, and she is a visual and textile artist from Soweto in Johannesburg in South Africa. When you pulled up closely to the work, you could tell that this idea of repetition, playfulness is really central to her work. And when you look back at some of her earlier works, mental health is a real theme that runs through her work, and she created those early pieces as a way of processing a lot of her anxieties, as a way of making sense of what she was feeling. And of course, the net result of that is not only work that has meaning, but work that is also beautiful as well. In terms of themes, and there was one piece in particular which looked like a screen print from a distance, but when you moved closer, you found that she'd actually woven this thread into the works. There's this idea of fragility, but also strength, which I think she really manages that tightrope well, and you see that coming through her work. One of my favorite things about DuduBloom's work is that it is abstract. I love Black women artists and they all choose to do different things, but seeing a Black woman abstract artist who has created work that allows you to go in many different directions, but at the same time, she's just captured this idea of the experience of being a Black woman, but also the sensibilities of being a Black woman, and has just captured that in a really intricate way, is something that's really exciting to me. Also, the materials that she uses, cardboard, thread, these are all really accessible materials. But what is sophisticated and complex is how she takes that and she turns that into these beautiful pieces. I'm really excited about her work. I think Els van Murek has done a great job in curating these artists. I can't wait to see more of her work, but that is the first artist from the Berman Contemporary who caught my attention. The second artist from the Berman Contemporary room whose work just stopped us in our tracks is Cow Mash. Now, I'm just gonna say to you, the pictures do not do this work justice. In person, you have these black boxes that had a very sculptural quality to them and had such deep emotional presence. Cow Mash is an artist who's based in Pretoria in South Africa. She's actually changed her name to Cow Mash because the cow, and by that I mean the animal, features all through her work as a metaphor, as an analogy, and that's just a theme that you see running constantly through her work. What's interesting, however, is that she uses synthetic leathers and synthetic fibers in her work. And I think she does this because she wants to show the evolution of like what used to be, so people using actual leather, to where we are now, where people are starting to prioritize the use of synthetic fibers and leathers in creating their works. So this is what Cow Mash said about her work. For me, these cardboard crates are like mini memory vaults that hold stories and information that I cannot bear to part with. I loved the idea of memories and how we hold them and how we hang on to them, and that's actually a theme that came across in a couple of the artists in this room that I loved. That very nicely brings me to the third artist. But before I do that, thank you so much for spending time with me. We are a small channel. Everything you can do to help us get our videos on these YouTube streets is so helpful. So if you could please take a moment to like, subscribe, and press on the notification bell so that you can be notified anytime a new video lands. The third artist is Hazel Mphande, and I loved seeing these dreamlike pieces from her. I'm just gonna pop a picture of her work on the screen. She is a photographer based in Pretoria, and when you move closer to her work, you get this sense of fleetingness. That was just the thing that stood out to me when I looked at her work. So self-portraiture is the way that she chooses to work. She takes these pictures of herself and she processes them in a way that capture that in between. So a bit about her background: she was diagnosed with clinical depression just over 10 years ago, And being in a family that is Black and religious, that was just seen as a taboo. So she spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to process those emotions, how those emotions can come out through her work. And her approach, where you have this fleetingness, where you have this blurriness, really captures that sentiment well. When I did a bit of a deep dive to find out more about her work, one thing that really came across is this idea of how people process and hold on to memories when they're coming from a context of generational trauma. And I think that this feeling is captured really ably in her work. This idea of all of us collectively experiencing a pandemic together, which is something that I'd say maybe almost all of us had never experienced before. And that idea really comes through her work. The fourth artist in this room whose work I loved is Athenkosi Kwinana, and her works were just so striking. And so a central theme of her work is albinism. And it's this idea that in certain cultures, people who are albinos are excluded from communal spaces. And what she does is that she takes her subject, which is largely her, and places the subject in communal spaces, at the dinner table, on the couch. And I think that there's such a quality to her work that is really striking. Her work is really interesting. I can't wait to see where it develops. I mentioned that these are all South African artists, and Athenkosi is South African, based in Johannesburg, and her work is largely around painting and drawing. So there we have it, 4 incredible Black women artists who I discovered at the 154 Contemporary Art Gallery. As I said, they were in the Berman Contemporary Room, which was probably one of my favorite rooms at the exhibition. And the curator, Els van Mierik, did an amazing job. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I should say that there were so many incredible artists. I think I'll probably do 2 or 3 other videos just on this topic of amazing Black women artists discovered during that Frieze week in London. On the channel at the moment are lots of other videos. I'm going to pop up a couple in the boxes next to me. I shall see you in the next video.